Thank you all very much. That was a profound response to saying thank you. This is a very lively audience. All right, let me just begin by thanking all of you for coming out and to say that we have 18 days of hard work in front of us to elect Gretchen Whitmer as the next governor of the state. Let me take a moment to give you a brief rundown of modern American political history. And I can encapsulate it in a few words. 4 years ago, the United States of America, in its midterm election, had the lowest voter turnout since World War II. All of 36% of the American people came out to vote. It's a little bit higher here in Michigan, higher in Vermont. But all over this country, voter turnout was absolutely abysmal. And at the same time, the Koch brothers and other billionaires spent enormous amounts of money working to elect right-wing extremists to Congress and to governor's chairs all across this country. So 4 years ago, working people in large numbers did not vote. People of color in large numbers did not vote. Young people in very large numbers did not vote. And the result on election day was that the Republican Party won sweeping victories all across this country, which resulted in their control of the U.S. House, the U.S. Senate, and governor's chairs, including Michigan's, all across this country. And right now, as we speak, in state after state, Republican leadership is doing everything it can to suppress the vote. Because they are political cowards, because they don't have the guts to run on their non-existent ideas, and the only way they win elections is by running ugly 30-second ads and making sure that people don't vote. Our job in the next 18 days is to turn that entire scenario upside down. Instead of having the lowest voter turnout for a midterm election in modern American history, we are going, with your help, to have the highest voter turnout. What that means, and here's where we need your help. You know, people in this country become intimidated by politics. You have friends who don't vote. They're going to give you long stories as to why they don't. My vote doesn't matter. Everybody is corrupt. Who cares? Nothing is going to change. On and on and on it goes. And your job is to sit down with those people and tell them you're not going to listen to them moaning and groaning about Donald Trump and what goes on in Washington or what goes on here in Michigan. No more complaining, no more depression, no more despair. Now is the time to stand up, fight back, and vote. But if each and every one of you does what is not really that hard, And that is to say, I am going to come out to vote, but you know what? I'm going to bring my friends and my family. I'm going to drag them out. You can double or triple the vote for Gretchen from the people who are in this room today. You can double or triple the vote for Gretchen. The reason we need Gretchen as governor, and the reason we need progressives to be winning all across this country. And this afternoon I was in Indiana. We had a great rally for a candidate who I hope and believe will be the next congressperson from her district. Tomorrow we're going to South Carolina, and we're going to Iowa, and we're heading all over this country in the next week. Is not just the policies, the ugly, vicious policies that are coming out of Washington. And I want to say a word to the people of Michigan who may be watching this online, who voted for Donald Trump. I understand why many of you voted for Donald Trump. You're hurting financially. You're working longer hours for lower wages. You're worried about your kids. You're worried about your jobs leaving this country. Well, what I want to say to you, and I think most Americans now understand it, is that in Donald Trump, we have a president who is a pathological liar. Who told the American people and the people of Vermont and Michigan one thing, but he ended up doing exactly the opposite. You may remember that Donald Trump said that I am a different type of Republican. I'm not Paul Ryan, I'm not Mitch McConnell. Donald Trump, if I get elected, I am not going to cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. Remember he said that? Well, he lied. Because the last budget that he brought forth included a $1 trillion cut in Medicaid, $500 billion in Medicare, and $72 billion in the Social Security Trust Fund over a 10-year period. Donald Trump said if I'm elected president, I'm going to have health care for everybody. He lied. Donald Trump led the effort to try and throw 32 million Americans off of the health care they have. Donald Trump just the other day, he was on 60 Minutes, and he said, well, you know, in terms of this climate change, well, people disagree about, what's going on. It's a lie. 99% of the scientists who have studied climate understand that climate change is real. It is caused by human activity, and it is already causing devastating problems in the United States and all over the world. Some of you see that recent report that came out by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. It said that if we do not get our act together all over this world within 12 years, a very short period of time, and transform our energy system away from fossil fuels and make massive cuts in carbon in the atmosphere. If we do not do that in 12 years, this planet will suffer irreparable harm. And the planet that we'll be leaving our kids and our grandchildren could well be a planet that is unhealthy and uninhabitable. So what we need in Washington and what we need in Michigan is leadership that has the guts to tell the big money interests and campaign contributors that democracy is not for sale. State level, federal level, where people who are elected serve to represent the interests of working families and the middle class, and not simply the billionaire class and wealthy campaigns. I want all of you never to forget that you are not living in some poor, impoverished country. You are living in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And there is no rational reason why we do not have a situation in which all Americans have a decent standard of living. Thank you to the people of Michigan, because during my presidential run, we pulled off a major upset and we won here in Michigan. Our victory here in Michigan and 21 other states around the country did something very, very significant. Because those victories here in Michigan and elsewhere told the entire world that the American people were not satisfied with status quo politics. Ideas that I talked about when we were here in Michigan 3 years ago, ideas which at that time were thought to be extreme and radical, and ideas that the American people were uncomfortable with. Well, you know what's happened in 3 years? Those ideas are now supported by the vast majority of the American people. Vermont, all over this country, people understand that if you work 40 hours a week, you should not be living in poverty, that the current federal minimum wage is a starvation wage, and we're going to raise that minimum wage to $15. Being put on women who are trying to control their own bodies. Big fight about Kavanaugh. The Supreme Court had a lot to do with whether or not Roe versus Wade will be overturned or whether we're going to protect a woman's right to choose. Who understand that the most personal decisions, difficult decisions that impact women must be made by women themselves and not is about. And in Michigan, and in fact all over this country, it is an international embarrassment that millions of people cannot drink the water that comes out of their faucet. It is not a radical socialist idea to say that the water we drink should not be poisoned. On several occasions, I have been to Flint, Michigan, and my discussions behind closed doors, without TV cameras, my discussions with parents in Flint, and what they have seen there have been the most painful and heartrending discussions that I've had to experience. My wife was with me. She had to walk out of the room. She couldn't deal with what pain parents were discussing in terms of their kids. This is the United States of America. And we're not going to give tax breaks to billionaires and then say we don't have the money to provide more. Republican friends publicly and in ugly 30-second ads are attacking the concept of Medicare for all. And you know why they are attacking that concept? Because they know that based on the latest polling I have seen, 70% of the American people understand health care is a right, not a privilege. If Canada can provide health care to all people at half the cost that we spend, if Europe can do the same, together, state by state and at the national level, we are going to provide health care to every American. We have a criminal justice system which is broken and which is racist. Have more people in jail than any other country on earth, including China, which is so much larger than we are and happens to be an authoritarian society. We have more people in jail than China. And of the people who are in prison, they are disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native American. We understand increasingly all across this country that the so-called war on drugs has been an abysmal failure, which has giving criminal records to people who possess marijuana, maybe we should have given criminal records to the crooks on Wall Street. And his friends think they can win votes by attacking minorities, by attacking people who have very little power. They've gone to war against undocumented people in this country. But the American people believe something very, very different than Trump believes. 80% of the American people believe that the almost 2 million people in or eligible for the DACA program should have legal protection. And the American people believe that instead of demonizing people who came to this country because they wanted the opportunity to provide at least a minimal standard of living, or to escape from countries where drug cartels were killing people. Instead of demonizing those people, we have got to move to comprehensive immigration reform and a path forward. Say to the people of Michigan, and I'm talking now to the people who voted for Trump, mark my words, if the Republicans gain control over the House and the Senate, forget the words that came out of Trump's mouth, they're not worth anything. Please understand that if they control the House and the Senate, after giving $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%, they are going to come back and cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I have not the slightest doubt, and in fact, to his credit, Mitch McConnell made that very clear just the other day. But I say to the senior citizens of this state and this country, some of whom are trying to survive on $12,000, $14,000 a year on Social Security. Some of whom are cutting their prescription drugs in half, their pills in half, because they cannot afford the outrageous price of medicine in this country that the pharmaceutical industry is charging us. I say that the time now is not to cut Social Security. The time is now to expand and extend Social Security. This is the United States of America. We should not be having the kind of grotesque and immoral income and wealth inequality that we currently have. We should not be living in a nation where 3 of the wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom half of the American people. Where the top 1/10 of 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90%, where over 40% of new income generated today is going to the top 1%. And by the way, as you well know, very few states in this country have been harder hit by the economic decline of the middle class than the state of Michigan. Living in a nation today where 40 million people are living in poverty, 30 million people have no health care, and even more are underinsured. We are living in a nation where hundreds of thousands of bright young kids cannot afford to go to college, and many of you are going to leave school with crippling debt. And that is why together we are going to make public colleges and universities tuition-free. It is very much a campaign having to do with values, who we are as Americans. Whether we are comfortable with a president who is attempting to divide us up based on the color of our skin or where we were born, or whether we are going to have political leadership here in Michigan and all across this country that understands that we are one nation, one people, regardless of the color of our skin or our sexual orientation. It is a hackneyed phrase, too often used phrase, to say that the coming election is the most important election. But honest to God, I believe that this coming midterm election is the most important midterm election in the modern history of our country. It is an election about whether we have government that represents all the people or just a few. It is an election in which we elect people who bring us together, not divide us up. It is an election which says to the President of the United States, we will not accept somebody who is a pathological liar. So this election is of enormous importance. And let me just tell you this. On election night, you turn on the TV, and the commentator there tells you that it looks like all across this country, voter turnout is low, young people are not voting. You can turn off the television. Because I can tell you with an absolute certainty that if the turnout is low, Gretchen, wherever she is, she's going to lose. And your great lieutenant governor candidate is going to lose as well. Turn off the TV. The voter turnout is low, they lose. But if that commentator says, hey, something is going on in Michigan and Vermont and around the country, and voter turnout is high, say hello to your next governor and lieutenant. Is that we vote and hold accountable the people we elect. Do not turn your back on those heroes and heroines who have died to defend democracy. You have a moral responsibility to participate in the democratic way of life. You have got to come out and vote on November 6th, and please do everything that you can to bring out as many people as possible. Thank you all very much.